Well, hello there, Anicod here again, and today I'm making an updated beginner to pro guide in under 10 minutes. Can you believe the last one was 4 years old? So let's start the timer. Now you've been out, you found yourself a ceiling light, and you've got a smile on your face because now you know when you get back to base, you can plonk it down and you'll be able to see at night. But when you do it, to power on the light you'll need a power source. You'll likely come across a small battery when you're out on your travels. Place this down and pull out your wiring tool. Now you'll need this tool to do anything electrical in Rust. When we look at the battery, you can see the charge left, active voltage, max output and capacity. You'll also see the battery as an input terminal and an output terminal. Simply connect the output terminal into your light and voila, your light works. Now there is an issue with this. If you look at the battery, you can see that the charge left is going down. So we're going to need a way to turn the light off when we're not using it. For this, we're going to use a simple switch. Disconnect everything and put the output of the battery into the bottom of the switch. And then the output switch from the top, you put into the light. And now the battery will only use power when the light is turned on. You can see, looking at the battery here, that we're using 2 power out of a maximum of 15, and this will come in handy a little bit later on. Now we do have another issue. We need to find a way of charging the battery, and for this, all we're going to use is a solar panel. If you want to see a video on how to place these properly, check out the video in my cards now, and then you'll be able to see. Just make sure you come back to this video. Panels only have one output, so they're nice and easy to wire up. You simply put the output of the solar panel into the input of the battery, and that's it. Now what you're looking at here is the most simple circuit in Rust. Most circuits can be built on top of this, and that's exactly what we're going to do with the remainder of this video. So you can see that we've got 13 excess power with this battery, so let's add more lights. To do this, place them down, and then you can use the pass-through of the active light and put it into the input of the next, and you can rinse and repeat, but for us we're just going to stop at 3. Now with 3 lights, each outputting 2, that means we're using 6 power. You can see that the charge left is starting to struggle, meaning that it's almost decharging as fast as it's charging, so let's add another solar panel. Now I know what you're thinking, how do we add multiple panels when the battery only has one input? Well, for this we use something called a root combiner. You can place it on the floor and you can see there's 2 inputs and 1 output. Simply wire the panels into the combiner and then use the single out wire and put this into your battery. You can see now that instead of putting 20 power into your battery, you're putting 40. If we look back at the battery, you can see that it's flying up, so we can add more things. So let's add a turret. Now turrets use 10 power. The lights we currently got wired up are using 6, so that means we need 16 power. What do you think will happen when we wire up the turret? Well, let's find out. We're going to use the pass-through of the light and then flick the switch on and nothing. Remember, the output of the battery is 15. The turret and lights equal 16, 1 over the maximum. So this means we need to upgrade the battery. Now you can get medium batteries, but I'm just going to go straight to large. This one has got a massive output of 100, meaning we can wire almost anything to it as long as we keep it charged. It wires up exactly the same as the small battery, and you can see now the turret and lights are all on. The issue with this is that when you turn the lights off, the turret will also turn off. So what can we do? Well, we can use something called a branch to split the power into multiple outputs. Plonk it down, wire the battery into the bottom, and then you'll see there's a power out and a branch out. So let's put the branch out into the bottom of the switch to power the lights, and then the power out can go into the turret. Make sure you configure the branch to output the correct amount of electricity to power your lights. In our case, 6. And there you go. When you turn the lights off, the turret will stay active, protecting your base. Now we've got a little bit more time, so let's go a little bit further. For this, you'll need to split the power again. Now you don't always have to use branches. This time I'm going to use a splitter. When you put the power in, it will split the power 3 equal ways, And once we've wired our turret up, we've still got 2 unused slots to expand. So let's use a HBHF sensor. We're going to use this to warn us when people are in or around our base. They'll pick up anyone authorised or not authorised on the tool cupboard. You can configure this however you like. Put power into it from the splitter and then it'll give us 1 power out once it's activated. Unfortunately, no matter how much power you put in, it will only output 1. And that fact will come in handy a little bit later on. We can use a broadcaster to notify us. Simply put it on the floor and put the power out of the HBHF sensor into the in of the broadcaster and make sure you set the frequency. You can set this to whatever you like. I'm just going to set it to 1. One top tip with this, don't use your door code, because if someone gets hold of it or goes into the settings, they'll be able to see your door code. Use a completely random code. With the help of a pager, you can set the frequency to the same. So for us, it'll be 1. And then your pager will go off when the broadcaster transmits. So when you get a raider or someone near your base, no matter where you are on the map, you'll be notified. I'm quickly going to show you a door controller because this will come in handy for our final build. These have changed slightly over the years, but now they get placed directly on the door and they automatically pair. When you put power in, the door opens, and when you remove power, the door closes. Pretty simple. Now, as promised, let's see what we can do with all of our training that we've carried out so far. And let's put a little bit of a base trap defence together. Now, first of all, we've put our HBHF sensor on the outside, and this is going to pick up unauthorised people that stray within 10 metres. Place a door controller on the double doors, and when people get too close, the doors will open and get rid of the threat. If you want to add a broadcaster to notify you someone's activated your trap, you need to use something called an AND switch. Remember earlier when I said the HBHF sensor only outputs 1 power? Well, this isn't enough to power the door controller and the broadcaster, so we have to bypass it slightly. Now, the AND switch will only output power when both inputs receive power. I'll show you exactly what I mean now. You'll need to power one side of it permanently, with enough power to power your door controller and your broadcaster, and then the out of your HBHF sensor will go into the other side. And you can see now when both lights turn green, it will output power. So let's use another branch. You know how to use these now, and we'll have one going into our controller and one going into our broadcaster. Again, make sure your frequencies are correct and set up. Now, 10 minutes ago, you were learning how to wire up a ceiling light. 10 minutes on, you've learnt multiple component trap bases, advanced switches, wireless broadcasters, and it wasn't that difficult, was it? As you can see here, when someone walks within 10 metres, the door automatically opens. It'll notify you anywhere on your map through your pager, and then when the threat's gone, the door will automatically close. Remember, when you are playing this game, you do need to hide the parts away, especially the HBHF sensor, to avoid it getting destroyed. Now look at this, we've still got 2 minutes left, so let me show you how to set up a base alarm quickly. I'm going to show you how you can set up any circuit you want using the reverse method, and this is the method I use, and all will become clear, so don't panic. So starting backwards, what do we want to achieve? Well, the end product is the lights and sirens going off. So let's start with the lights and sirens. In our case, we're going to use the siren lights because they can be linked together with a pass-through, and to make the sound, we just use the speaker. So let's put them down and link them up. The next step is how do we activate the lights and speakers? Well, for that, we're going to use a button and a pressure pad. The pressure pad for intruders and the button if we want to manually activate it. Now, the pressure pads and buttons don't need power inserted into it for them to output a little bit of power, and this will come in handy in a minute. The next step is how do we put permanent power into the lights and sirens to keep them going off? Well, for that, we're going to use an OR switch. These will output power when either input receives power. What we're basically doing here is linking the button and the pad together. Next, we can use a memory cell. If you want an in more depth video on how the memory cell works, the link is up in the cards now. And all we have to do is power the memory cell and put the power out of the OR switch into the set of the cell. What that will basically do is switch the power from one output on the cell to the other one. The next step is how do we reset the memory cell so the alarm turns off. We obviously don't want it going off forever. The button doesn't need power. So you can just put another button down, wire it into the reset to reset it, and if you keep your eye on the lights on the cell, you can see by pressing the button it turns from a double green into a red and a green. So the memory cell has two outputs. When it's red and green, it means the power is going through the inverted output on the left, and when they're both green, the power will go through the normal output on the right. So we want to wire everything onto the output on the right. Once it's wired in, there you go. Someone steps on the pad, goes through the OR switch, sets the memory cell, putting permanent power into your alarms and lights. It's really that simple. The reset button sends a small electrical charge into the reset and turns all your alarms off. Remember, in Rust as well, you can hide your electrical components. I would strongly recommend doing this. Pressure pads, you just stick a rug over them. And yeah, we've definitely filled our 2 minutes doing this. Now, I make these videos weekly. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Let me know if you've watched this far, and let me know you're a legend, and I'll give you an Anicod heart. And yeah, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.